Hi, welcome to Life Unravelled, where we unravel life's little mysteries. Today we're looking at pre-numeracy. This course is about all those little things that we can do to help our kids with their numbers, colours, shapes, logic, progressions, anything to do with maths. And it's going to be a great course. We've got so much information there for you and heaps of things to do, heaps of fun games to play. So first of all, we're going to have a look at how children learn and how they develop. Whenever we talk about anything to do with learning, we need to understand how children actually develop and the 5 different areas that they develop. They develop physically, intellectually, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. When we think about all these different aspects, the physical development is quite easy. They can basically do nothing as tiny babies, and all of a sudden their vision starts to focus. They start to be able to vocalize, they start to be able to move their arms and legs, they roll over, they sit up, they start walking, they start running, and they go through a whole physical development. And that physical development is well documented. There's also an intellectual development that they go through. When they first see you, that first smile at 6 weeks or around about then, when they actually acknowledge that they can see you and they recognise you for the first time, that's the very first starts of their intellectual development. And it goes through all the way through, and even at 90, people are still developing intellectually. So it's really interesting to see that all these things that we're doing with our kids are going to help them for the rest of their lives. The social development is children understanding where they fit in the world. Now, I'm sure you can all relate to a 2-year-old having a huge tantrum because they don't get what they want. Well, this is some of the things that their social development needs to work on. And it's very, very difficult for a little one to understand why all these things just aren't going exactly the way that they expect them to go. And as you can see by this footage, it's not just little ones that have tantrums. And so it's really teaching them over the years on what is the expected behaviour socially within our society. Now, another side of their development is their emotional development. And you see children, you can actually see the emotions on their faces. They go through confusion, and then sometimes they get angry and frustrated, and then all of a sudden things become a little bit easier and you see the delight on their face. Being able to name those emotions and also being able to feel those emotions is a really big, important part of their development. And lastly, the spiritual side, and that's getting back to nature, understanding where they fit. If you have a faith, it's understanding the faith and the religion that you're in, but it's not just religion. It's also how they feel with relation to the world. Now, if any one of these areas is not addressed during their development, some of the other areas can't actually proceed to the next development level. So it's really important that we address all aspects of our child's development. And I'm sure you are giving them cuddles and support for their emotional development, telling them no for their social development, really giving them new challenges for their intellectual development. And I even saw on Facebook the other day, a dad had created a ninja warrior for his 3-year-old to go through, and it was all in the backyard, and it just looked delightful, and that's the physical development with pre-numeracy. When we're looking at the intellectual development, we find that there are multiple abilities. So one of the abilities that we're talking about is a bodily ability. So it's physically being able to do what our mind wants us to do. For instance, turn the page to read a book. It's often called kinesthetic, and you'll hear some educators say, your child's preferred learning style is a kinesthetic learning style. and that just means that they like to learn through touch. Some of the other words that you'll hear educators use is an auditory learner, which is learning through listening to things, or a visual learner, which is learning via seeing something. Another multiple ability that we've got here is interpersonal, and that just means that they're very, very good at reading people and knowing exactly what's happening around them with all the different people who are there. They're able to interact very well with other people. The verbal ability is someone who's really good with the gab. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. And you'll see some little kids, they'll go up to anyone and talk about anything, and they'll engage people, and other children are just very shy and timid and don't want to say anything. So regardless of whether a child easily socialises or finds it very difficult, they still have to be taught the social skills. And it's really important that we help our kids learn how to fit into society, whether they have a verbal ability or not. They need to know the rules of society. Some of the other multiple abilities that we're speaking about is the mathematical, the logical and spatial awareness type abilities. And you'll often see kids who can know exactly how many Lego blocks will fit into that specific spot, or how we can actually put all of our things away and they fit into the cupboard. And then other kids just chuck everything in and they just squish them in to see if it works. And all of these skills that we have, all these abilities that we have, are abilities that are naturally inherent in us. But that doesn't mean that the other abilities that are here and listed can't be taught. For instance, music is a great one. Often people say, I don't have a music bone in my body. But what's interesting is that you can actually teach someone who doesn't have a musical bone in their body how to play an instrument and how to sing in tune. It's just a matter of gathering skills. And that's what we're talking about with pre-numeracy. We're gathering skills so that we can learn all about numbers and shapes and colours and groups of numbers and how to add up and how to take away and all those sorts of mathematical things. It's actually a lot of fun. So I'd like to go through some of the aspects that we're going to do in this course. So in order for our children to really succeed in maths, they need an environment that's rich in counting, that's rich in numbers, colours, shapes, all of those aspects of maths that we learn over the years. And that promotes learning mathematical concepts and language. And one of the most important parts of maths is the language that you use. And once you understand the language and the concepts, then that promotes numeracy literacy. So that means that promotes an ability to understand numbers and to be able to calculate and do all your maths concepts. Now let's look at all the different parts that we're going to do in this course on maths. We're going to have a look at how we get used to numbers and some easy concepts and some easy tricks that you can do with the kids to help them with their counting. We're going to have a look at shapes and colours and groups and try and understand how we can teach our kids all the colours in fun ways and all the different shapes in lots of fun activities. The importance of stacking and building and manipulating toys, especially, for instance, Lego and those types of toys, is so important for understanding numbers. So we're going to go through that, and we're also going to look at comparisons and opposites. One of the concepts I haven't talked about before is sequencing and time, and that's sequencing events like the event of the day. You wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, you do some play, you have lunch, you have a sleep, you have dinner, and then you go to bed. Those sequences are really important, as well as the sequences of the seasons and the months and the time, all those sorts of things. So that's really important for the children to understand, and that's all part of numeracy. So those are the general things that we're going to go through. It's going to be an information-packed course, so get ready. We've got some great handouts for you. I hope you enjoy our journey through pre-numeracy. It's going to be lots of fun. So we'll see you on our next video.